Howdy, 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 and welcome to the Lady Walker Show. I am Lady Walker, and beloved, once again, we have a gem dandy of a show in store for you. I tell you what, you don't want to miss it, so come closer. My guest is co-founder of Mississippi Fatherhood Initiative Program. So, beloved, without further ado, welcome to the Lady Walker Show, Peter Stewart. Greetings, Peter.
Thank you, Lady Walker. Thank you for having me.
Well, the pleasure is mine. And I tell you, we have been talking off camera and learned some interesting thing about you and what you are doing. But before we get into the Mississippi Fatherhood Initiative Program, which is very interesting and very needed, let's find out just a tittle bit about who is Peter Stewart.
Oh, well, thank you. Peter Stewart, I'm actually Peter Stewart III. I graduated here in Jackson. I'm a native Jacksonian, graduated from Provine High School, go Rams.
All right.
Graduated from Jackson State University back in 1989, political science pre-law major. And I'm a 1992 graduate of University of Mississippi School of Law. I'm I guess I'd say semi-retired criminal defense attorney from the area.
Oh, okay, criminal defense attorney.
Yeah. I had some health issues that kind of required me to scale down things a little bit. And I'm proud to say that one of the things that has kind of sparked new life in me is what my brother convinced me to work with him on is the Mississippi Fatherhood Initiative.
Okay, Mississippi Fatherhood Initiative. Yes, now, what is that all about?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Like I said, my brother, he convinced me that there's something wrong with the current child support system in the state of Mississippi, especially how it affects families and especially fathers. And what our goal is, our ultimate goal is to ensure that every time a father comes into the courtroom facing a child support issue in court, that he has legal representation. We're not at that point yet. Where we are now is actually we have developed an education program to actually educate men on what they need to know when they do go to court to help them prepare their documentation for when they go to child support court. And we do have classes where I even have gotten a beautician to volunteer for what I'm most proud of, the part I'm proud of, is a Comb My Baby Girl Hair Day.
Oh, okay. Comb My Baby Hair Day.
Yes. One of the issues young men especially face with extended visitation with their daughters especially is what I'm going to do if I have my daughter for the summer months, who's going to comb my baby girl hair? And the beautician is going to teach the young men in a one-day class 2 hairstyles, how to do the barrettes and comb the bangs of his daughter, because when combing the hair, that's such a bonding time for a man and his child, as well as just the fact that he now is removed from that fear of what I'm going to do with this extended visitation. So we're trying to connect fathers with their children, and we want to remove the barriers. And I guess I'll go ahead and say the most controversial thing, the goal that we have is we want to remove incarceration as a punishment for non-payment of child support.
Wow. Well, that's a good thing.
Oh, you think so?
Well,
I'm glad you agree. Especially
well, let me tell you why I say that. Because
Okay.
I know of people like that. I have nephews and cousins, and I got grandsons that one day will grow up to be men with children and may encounter some of these same issues and need representation when he's doing the best that he can. So I think it's from listening to you before the taping, I think it's a good thing. Now, and I know that not all men are actually trying to pay it when they can, but there are those who are, and sometimes unfortunate things happen and they're not able to pay what was told of them to pay or whatever the case may be.
Well, one of the messages I got to take this opportunity to get out there is 75% of fathers never miss a child support payment, not even one, from age birth to age 21, okay? That's the overwhelming majority of men take care of their children, is the bottom line. Out of that 25% who will have a hiccup, have a problem, typically it's less than 12 months that they may not be able to make a child support payment. but 95% of them, the reason why they are late with child support is because they lost a job or can't find a job.
And you know, out in the world, so to speak, they say deadbeat dads. Not all dads are deadbeat.
No, we talked about this earlier. We have to understand that, especially in the African American community, there was a time post-Reconstruction where a black man who couldn't prove he had a job. Let me just paint this picture. The sheriff walked around. If he saw a black man, he would ask, "Do you have a job?" If that black man could not produce a piece of paper signed by a white man saying he had a job, then he was incarcerated for vagrancy, put in jail, and then made to work on the county farm or the prison farm and was leased back out to the same plantation he may very well have been a slave on. Well, that's what happens to black men when they come into child support court. Mr. Smith, you haven't paid child support. Well, the reason why I haven't paid because I can't find a job. Oh, no excuse, you're going to jail. Same scenario, and I have a problem with the fact that we're not up in arms about it, maybe because it's mostly affecting in Hinds County, it's mostly affecting African Americans.
But if it's affecting not Hinds County, some other areas and other people.
Well, I'll say this. I'll simply stand by the fact that there's got to be a reason why something as barbaric as the reason why the punishment for not paying child support is incarceration.
And can be incarcerated for years.
Well, it's at the judge's discretion. There is no time limit. And literally what typically happens, because it happened to me, is you're put down to the county farm and you're made to work. You're not paid at all. You don't get anything for your work. Other men who are on the county farm, they actually get paid.
Oh, okay.
And that money goes towards paying off whatever fines they may have. If they had some traffic tickets, then their work goes towards paying off those traffic tickets.
But when it comes to child support.
When it comes to child support, you're just there. You're just working. You literally are a slave. You're working for free.
Until your
mama, your daddy, your sister, somebody
come
up with the money to get you out. Typically, there is at least one Supreme Court case that says it is unconstitutional. That's a 2012 case that says it's unconstitutional to incarcerate someone who can prove that they simply don't have the inability to pay. Well, unfortunately, that inability to pay is in the discretion of the judge.
Okay.
So what we need is legislation that better defines inability to pay, that favors men.
So how are we going to get better
legislation? Well, that's what the initiative is about. The initiative, at its base, it is a legal initiative where we do want to change the law. We want to change how the law affects people. Back in the 60s, what the civil rights movement was all about was the NAACP had a legal defense fund, a collective of attorneys that they scraped up money to pay these attorneys to fight to change the law. It was an initiative, and thank God they were successful. We need a similar initiative, both in the legislature and in the courtroom, to change things. Because right now what's going on is something that's patently unfair in the legal system, and that is that in child support court, there's only one lawyer. That's the one who's prosecuting the case against the defendant.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we are going to come back and talk about that because that is really interesting. Because if it's only one in the courtroom and the defendant, or what is that person called? Is it the defendant?
Defendant.
Yeah, doesn't
have representation.
Yes.
Yeah.
May go to jail. All right, well, we are going to come back and continue along this line.
Okay.
Beloved, we will be right back. Welcome back, beloved. Beloved, listen, put your hearing on. This is so vital to men out there who may be facing child support issues and may be on the verge of going to jail, and you know that you have been paying whenever you can or doing the best that you know how. You need to listen to this. This is vital. My guest is Peter Stewart. He is co-founder of Mississippi Fatherhood Initiative Program. Okay, now, you got some interesting stories, so much to know, and I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but you are more than welcome to come back and to update us upon, progress and all of that. Now, once again, for those who are just tuning in, what is this Mississippi Fatherhood Initiative is about?
The Mississippi Fatherhood Initiative, again, for those who are just tuning in, it's about changing the child support laws so they change the way it affects fathers.
Because the law isn't Well, in favor of the fathers all the time.
Well, no, it's not. It overlooks simple issues. When a man falls behind in child support, 99% of the times because he's lost a job, his hours have been cut, he's out of work, he can't find a job. It's an issue of him having the money. A small percentage, roughly only about 10%, are patently guys who just don't want to pay. Only in which those guys, maybe they should be incarcerated. I don't know.
Maybe because you got some guys that may quit working just so that they don't have to pay child support. Now, when you got many kids out there, with different women, that's a different story too.
Yeah, well, and let me give you this story. Maybe that will get some guys to call out foundation. I was actually in court and witnessed a young man, beautiful little couple, this beautiful young brother, couldn't have been maybe 23, 24 years old, had this beautiful girlfriend. She was maybe 21, and they had a beautiful little girl. And the mother, the girlfriend, testified that the boyfriend worked, paid all the bills. He was the sole source of income for their household. And that though they were aware that, yes, when she applied for food stamps, that as required by the law, she did list him as the father, and that he was aware that he had been listed as the father, and that, yeah, there was a, child support order. But for some reason, this young man made the mistake of believing that because he was being a real man, like y'all women tell us to be a real
Stand
man.
up and be a real man.
Take care of your responsibility. And he was holding it down, paying all the bills, paying all the rent, even paying her car note. Okay. For his girlfriend, the mother of the child, who you could see the love in her eyes, he was still in danger of being incarcerated. But luckily, this judge felt the need to not incarcerate him because she realized if she did that, then this sole source of support for this young woman, this young mother, would be gone. And even the judge couldn't, fathom. It was a female judge, and I would say an African-American female judge. But that's the way she felt. Now, unfortunately, I've also been in court, and I've seen that same man, and I'll never forget witnessing this. Same exact scenario. And that young man was incarcerated. He was told to stand up. The bailiff, please escort the defendant to the jail, put his hands behind his back, was handcuffed. And that young lady, in tears in her eyes, she said, "I can't stand to watch this." She stood up right there in front of the judge. She said, "Drop my case. It's not worth this. I'd rather have him. I don't need your food stamps. I don't need your TANF. Just drop my case entirely and let my man go." Okay? That's a problem with the system. It breaks up families, depending upon who's the judge.
Okay.
What we simply want to do is have an initiative that is there in the court, or have an attorney there in the courtroom that puts that judge at task. Somebody must put that judge at task to say, "Wait a minute, judge, you can't do this to family. You can't sit up here because you feel a certain way that you're going to break up a family. No, we can't have that. We need another lawyer there representing men every single time to make sure that it happens until judges get it through and or until we get the legislation changed."
So if you have a man who is paying child support, but he's giving the money to the woman and it's not going through DHS.
Okay.
He's giving it to her personally via a check or a money order, which would be best, not just giving her cash. I mean, I'm assuming he should never give her cash, but a money order or a check or something, just in case in the long run, she said he didn't contribute. If things didn't work out between them two, and she said that he hadn't given her anything, but if he gives check or a money order and keep records of it, he can hopefully have that to show proof that I have been contributing towards, the care of my child.
Unfortunately, that is not the case. The law is what I call bifurcated. There's one law for if you were married to the mother of your children and you get divorced. That's one law. But the law that was called Title 4D law, what it says is that not only does it not count as child support, that if that woman got up and testified, put her hand on the Bible, raised her right hand, and testified on the oath.
As if people can't lie on the oath.
Okay. Well, but but if she testifies, says, Your Honor, he paid me cash, he paid me check, he paid me money order, and here are the receipts. The statute says on a Title 4D case that does not count as child support.
Oh, wow. Really?
And
what does it count as?
And it counts as nothing. It is as if he did not pay her a dime, is what the statute actually says.
Doesn't that need to be changed?
He is in contempt of court and should be incarcerated until the full amount of the arrearage is paid. That is what the law says.
And which is another sad thing is when a father is delinquent or whatever the word, should be used in this monthly child support. And sometimes, and I know this happened because, like I said, I got family members and all of that who is going through this as well. And they wait until the bill becomes so outstanding, and next thing you know, you got a warrant out for your arrest or something from that standpoint, and you got this outstanding bill, $20,000 that you owe in child support. Why not? Why do you wait until that length of time? Now you want to put me in jail. How am I going to come up with $20,000 with the minimum wage that I am making?
It doesn't matter about the amount. I also, again, I did do what I call father's rights when I was practicing. I saw a young man trotted off to jail because he was working. It was one of the downtown hotels, and you remember the downtown hotel switched ownership. When it switched ownership, they missed 1/2 of one payment. He got paid every 2 weeks. And when they switched over ownership, they missed 1/2 of one child support payment, $100, $120. And then after that, he never missed another payment. Okay, he was incarcerated
for that
$120.
Really?
He was handcuffed, led down the hall, and incarcerated for $120. Because he didn't have it on him that day. So it doesn't matter about the amount. Again, and it was the same judge. I dare not call that judge's name, but again, the same judge, because that judge who has been doing this for probably well over 20 years now, that's another thing. Maybe we need to get rid of that judge.
For real.
Except for one problem. These family masters, they're not elected. They're appointed. So they don't. They're appointed by the elected judges and chancery court judges. So we don't even have a say so.
Oh, really?
And who this person is, they're not elected. They don't answer to the voters. So we can't get rid of him by simply not voting him back on the bench.
Ooh, I even think that law needs to be changed.
Yeah.
It's me. I know it's like that with the Supreme Court, of the USA. It's like that, and they stay in there until they retire or die or whatever.
Yeah. And again, and I'll try to wrap this up this way. The initiative, again, it's a movement. The intention is to change legally. I want to attract attorneys in to come in and work on this initiative to change the laws, change the situation, because you have a system where there's only one lawyer, and that is the DHS lawyer, who a lot of people also need to know is that this DHS lawyer is not someone who comes out of family law. He's not a family law attorney. He comes out of the prosecution side. And when you see those scales of justice, that blind lady holding those scales up, those scales are meant to be balanced, aren't they? And those balanced scales represent justice.
Right.
Fairness, equality, okay? And to have equality, you need a prosecutor on this side and a defense attorney on this side. Because if it's just a prosecutor, then guess who gets their way?
Okay, the prosecutor is going to win mostly, probably 99% of the time, maybe.
And because it's about money, because it's child support, if a man can afford a lawyer, he can afford to pay his child support. In other words, it's to his detriment if he walks into court with a paid lawyer, because whatever you paid that lawyer, you could put this money on his child support.
But again, as I said, off break, that maybe that person isn't paying for this attorney with his money. Maybe it's a loved one or someone else who's paying it for him. But like I said, it doesn't matter because the judge is still going to look at it as if you can afford an attorney, you could afford to pay that child support. Well, I tell you what, we're going to take a break and come back and continue along this line because, again, I say it's interesting.
Oh,
all righty, beloved. We will be right back. Welcome back, beloved. My guest is Peter Stewart. Okay, now it's a Stewart earlier with the T, and is it with the D?
It's with a T.
Okay, with the T. Okay, so I said it both.
You got it right.
My bad, Peter. My bad.
No problem.
Okay, now let's talk about how women, how this affects women.
And I'm glad to talk about women because the most powerful unit on earth is the original unit, which is a man and a woman. How it affects women is that, and women have known this for a long time, when women receive TANF, the federal law under TANF is they must work. Okay, they must get a job. When you walk into the DHS office on the first floor, or the second floor, there's a sign that says, a request for assistance is a request for a job.
Really?
Right. So women know that when they apply for TANF, temporary assistance to needy families, they know that they also have to work. And what their wages would be garnished for, if you would be to pay back whatever cash assistance that they receive. Okay, I guess that sounds fair. All right. But while this woman is working and receiving this and paying back her TANF, let's say the father of her children, he finds a job and they start withholding child support out of his check. Okay. And let's say he's ordered to pay $200 a month. Okay. Well, DHS is going to withhold at least between 40, 50, or whatever amount they deem adequate according to their formula out of that child support check to pay back that TANF. She's working to pay back the TANF, and they're also taking it out of the child support she should be getting, so she's getting less child support. And again, we're talking about poor people, poor working people who, I'm sorry to say, but that $80, that $60 is not a lot of money until you're trying to buy that one last box of Pampers. Then that's $60, and then you find yourself having to ask your neighbor, having to ask your sister, having to ask somebody else for the money to borrow the money. But that is how it affects women. We want women to be on board with this. Again, the most powerful unit is a man and a woman. Us with this fatherhood initiative, to have the most beautiful sight I could ever see is the mothers of the children coming standing beside, not behind, but beside the fathers of their children, fighting for these changes. There's no way we could be stopped. No way we could be
Does
stopped.
it in any way affect the private child support? You know, if you got a private attorney, your own attorney, without DHS, no DHS,
Right.
you're not getting any TANF or anything of that nature, and you got your own private attorney, does this fatherhood initiative in any kind of way can help?
I mean, of course, obviously can. Yes, we could be there to help assist.
But the main thing is
obviously,
with those who are getting public assistance.
right. The main thing is with those getting public assistance. Obviously, most fathers, there is a bifurcated system, like I said earlier. Men and women who have enough income, basically, to hire lawyers. Typically, they also had enough money to get married, and the reason why they're paying child support is because they got divorced. It's only when that woman walks into DHS, if they were married and got divorced, and while they were married, she did not receive public assistance. What typically happens is they get divorced, she loses income, she loses money, so she finds herself applying for food stamps, and once she does that, then that father is put on child support. But that still is not under the Title IV-D law, where if he pays her directly cash money, it still counts. It still can be counted if she simply testifies that he paid it. But the bottom line is we want men and women working together because the system does pit the men and women against each other. Because in that scenario I gave about the young couple, what unfortunately some of those young women be counseled is that, how about you go get your own HUD apartment, leave that man, and then you get more benefits if you leave that man. And that is what, unfortunately, too many of our women in the African-American community have done. Hence, we have 70% of all African-American children born in single female households because culturally, women have made a decision that it is, if you're poor, it is better to be alone than to definitely have a husband. Marriage is not even an option. If we re-engineer these things, that's why I say what I'm ultimately goal is social engineering, then again, men and women will see getting married as a way out of poverty, which it is.
Because you got the two incomes.
Two incomes. Every statistic shows that. Is that if you want to get out of poverty, get a husband.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of women here that are going to go, oh my God, did he say that? but I want to temper that with just the statistics. Two incomes beats one.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this here. Now you got fathers who have this astronomical child support that they owe delinquent, and sometimes their license, or maybe most times, their license are suspended.
Correct.
And let's say they make a deal and being able to pay that down, can they get their license reinstated?
Yes, they can. There's an agreement that they can enter into. They typically have to come up with some portion. Typically the way it works is this: he's incarcerated, he owes $20,000. Typically what they'll do is they'll take 10%. They put him in jail. His mom and his dad, his sisters, everybody goes to scramble. They come up with $2,000 to get him out, and he gets his driver's license reinstated. For all you men out there, listen, if you got a letter saying your driver's license being suspended and you hear a court date, you need to give us a call, because more than likely, unfortunately, again, I can't give you legal advice over the TV, but more than likely that letter, that hearing date when you get there is going to be for an order of incarceration if you don't walk through there with some serious change in your pocket.
Wow, that is so interesting. I certainly better let the people that I know that may be dealing with that.
If you get that letter, call 601-421-9186. Your driver license been suspended for child support. Give us a call. We got some work to do.
All right, well, we're going to take another break, and we will be right back. Welcome back, beloved. Now, we are going to let Peter give that phone number once again. And if you know, like I know, if you need to call him, please ring him up. There you go, Peter.
Okay, again, Mississippi Fatherhood Initiative. Brothers, fathers, men, if you get that letter that says your driver's license has been suspended for failure to pay child support, please contact an attorney. If you don't have the money for one, we're not attorneys who represent you in court. Rather, we will help prep you for court. But please give us a call, 601-421-9186, or you can call Mr. Nicholas Collins, co-founder, at 601-918-1470.
All right, well, Peter, it's a plum pleasing pleasure to sit and sup up tea with you.
Thank you.
And anytime you want to come back, because I think this is very educational, and it's something that needs to, you're giving a voice to it. You're giving a voice to it, and it needs to be out there.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Anytime you want to come back on and update us on the progress, please feel free to do so.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In the meantime, beloved, thanks for tuning in. And we are going to see you next time on the Lady Walker Show.